Sean Daniel with Guitar Control here, and today we're going to talk a little bit about numbers. And before you fight me on this and be like, why are we talking about numbers? I dropped out of high school specifically to play guitar so I don't have to deal with math and numbers anymore. Listen up, and listen up good. You only have to count to 7. This is the most important music theory lesson you will ever get. I don't care if you never, ever look into music theory ever again. This is something that every good guitar player, every good musician needs to know, and we're going to break it down in a really easy way. And also make sure to click the link in the description because it's going to give you a sheet that kind of simplifies this to help you remember it in case you don't get it right away, because there's going to be a decent amount of information covered in here that you're never ever going to forget, and you're going to be really happy that you watched this video. So basically, like I said, all it is you have to count to 7. There are 7 numbers in music worth remembering. You can get into more than that. This is a great gateway into music theory. I remember when I first figured this stuff out on my own, no one ever told me. I was like, why did no one ever tell me this? But essentially, we're turning chords into numbers to remember them as progressions. Now, before even you think of that, you might have heard musicians say, like, go to the 5 chord, go to the 3 chord, something like that. This is what's going to be explained. So all of it comes from the major scale, and we're going to do this in the C major scale because it's the easiest one. We're not even going to get so far into the depths of the notes. We're just going to talk about numbers. So the C major scale sounds like this. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we have another C again, okay? So everything comes from the major scale, and this is no exception. Any one of these 7 notes can become a chord, and this is true in any key. We're just picking the key of C as an example. We're going to transpose it into another key at the end just to kind of show how this is movable across any single note, any single key in music. But in the key of C, and when you say the key of C, that means we're using the C major scale. That means we're using this shape. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Really easy to remember. It's just the letters of the alphabet, no sharps or flats in the key of C. So these numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1 again, that's another C, are really important when it comes to writing songs, playing songs, remembering songs. And that's because we can assign each of these notes a number. So instead of thinking C, D, E, we think 1, 2, 3. And now why is this important? Because every one of these numbers becomes its own chord in a key. And learning the chords in a key is a very essential piece of tool for remembering longer chord progressions, for knowing where to go in a solo, for being able to communicate to other musicians. There's too many different reasons to even list as to why important this is, how important this is. So let me just start off by saying there's a shortcut to knowing which one of these numbers become major chords and which one of these numbers become minor chords. I bet you intuitively already understand a lot of this already, because if you've ever tried just like playing up songs off like a chord chart on maybe like a tab slide or something like that, you'll notice like, oh, a C major and a G major go together with like an A minor a lot of the time, sometimes a D minor or E minor, sometimes a F. This is just kind of like the reason all these work together. So basically, the first note in any key, any major scale, again, this is a C, becomes a major chord. So the first chord, the 1 chord in the key of C major, is a C major. Now, the thing that's kind of confusing about that is if you say C major, I don't know, are we talking about a C major chord? Are we talking about the C major scale? I'm not really sure. So a C means C major. For the purpose of this is going to be the 1 chord in the key of C. Now, there are also 2 other major chords that go with C in this key, and those are always going to happen on the 4th and the 5th notes. A fancier way to say that is the 4th and 5th degree, scale degrees. If you ever hear that term, that just means the number in the major scale. So if we have this, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, this is going to be on that sheet in the description. This is the 8th fret on the E string, the 10th fret on the E string, 7A, 8A, 10A, 7D, 9D, and then the octave, the C again, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The 1, the 4, and the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 1, skip the 2, skip the 3, go to the 4, and the 5. 1, 4, 5. Those 3 notes all have the potential to become major chords in this key. So what are the 4th and 5th notes? We have a C, D, E, F. F is the 4th note. G is the 5th note. C, F, and G. All 3 of those become major chords, okay? Now we can go more into depth about the notes that consist of these different chords and why they go together, but this is just kind of like a shortcut to know that the 1, the 4, and the 5 are always going to be major in a key. That's why C, F, and G always sound really, really great together because they fit in that key. Now you may have noticed we skipped a couple notes. We skipped the second note and the third note. Now those become minor chords. In fact, the 2, the 3, and the 6 in any key become minor chords. So if we were to flesh that out, we'd find out that the 2 in C is a D, the third note in the key of C is an E, 4 is F, 5 is G, 6 is A. So 2, 3, and 6 in the key of C is a D, an E, and an A. Again, those 3 notes become minor chords that we can use. So the 2 chord in the key of C is a D minor. The 3 chord is an E minor. And the 6 chord is an A minor. Okay? So we have a 2, 3, 6, and a 1, 4, 5. Now, just knowing this, we can play pretty much almost any song ever written in a chord form with maybe the help of a capo with just this one key. So I want to talk about how we can kind of use these numbers to make a progression. We just have numbers 1 through 6 in the key of C. We can randomly pick a bunch out. We can start with a 5, go to a 2, go to a 1, and then a 4. So a 5, 2, 1, 4 progression in C, which now you know, now you're starting to sound like a musician. In fact, if you ever see Roman numerals written down on a chord sheet or something like that, they pertain to the scale degree in a key. So a 5, 2, 1, 4 in the key of C. What's the 5? C, D, E, F, G. There's the 5. What's the 2? 1, 2. Remember, 2, 3, 6 are minor. The 2 is D minor. What did I say? 5, 2, 1, 4. The 1 in the key of C. 1 is major, C. 4, C, D, E, F. F is major. So a 5, 2, 1, 4 in the key of C would be G major, D minor, C major, F. Any combination of those numbers, 1 through 6, is going to sound good. There's no way that you can screw this up. Even you. I promise you. There's no way you can screw this up if you do the math right. And the math is so simple. 1, 4, and 5 become major chords. 2, 3, and 6 become minor chords. If you learn nothing else today, please take that with you and just make it. I remember the way that I remembered it was like grouping 1, 4, and 5 together was like 1 plus 4 equals 5. Grouping 2, 3, and 6 together, 2 times 3 equals 6. However you want to remember it, there's no wrong way to do it. Now, we've kind of skipped one note, and that's the 7th note. So the 7th note in the key of C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, is a B. In fact, there's always an easier way to get to the 7th note from the first note in a key. So here's our first note. Instead of counting up to that, we can always just go backwards a half step. C, B. The 7th note is always going to be right below the root note. Now, in certain genres of music, you're not even going to see the 7 chord, the 7th note, become a chord that much because it ends up being a diminished chord. What diminished means is it means it has a flat 5. So the sound of a flat 5 is not the most pleasing thing. And again, a 5, when I say a flat 5, like if I'm in C still, a 1 and a 5 is a C and a G. A flat 5 would be taking this 5th note, flattening it 1 fret. Right there. So that's a C diminished quality right there between a root and its flat 5. So if we did that on the B, that's the basis of a 7 chord. Now, again, in a lot of genres, you're not going to see 7 chords. Diminished chords, half diminished chords is another type of way to call this chord. But in a lot of genres, you do. And in fact, it's really pretty if used correctly. So this right here is a B minor 7 flat 5. Again, a long name, just meaning it's a diminished chord, the 7 chord in a key. So if we had that same progression, that 5, 2, 1, 4, I think is what I was talking about earlier. If we had that same progression, but we want to like scoot a diminished chord in there, let's maybe make it a 5, 7, 1, 4. All that would mean is like the 5th chord is major, G. 7 chord would be a B diminished. And again, I'll talk about this voicing in a second. So 5, 7, 1, 4. Okay, now for a split second, there's tension in that seventh chord is kind of going into. I don't want to make this lesson all about seven chords, but it's just good to talk about. And again, this is just a really easy voicing. It's 2A, 3D, 2G, 3B. Half diminished is what this is called. B half diminished. There's my root note. Always happens on the seventh note in any key. But basically, it's more about just like seeing these numbers, these scale degrees, and turning them into chords. Remember, 1, 4, and 5 are major. 2, 3, and 6 are minor. 7 is diminished. So any way you want to plug and play those, they're always going to sound good together. So let's transpose this. Let's do it in a different key. Okay. Let's pick the key of F. Okay. So if we take maybe a root note, the 8th fret on the A string is the F. We can play the same thing, the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the 1 again. So I know that. We can write this down if you want, like the first note in the key of F is a F. So that first note becomes a F. Is it major or minor? What is 1? 1 is major. Now the second note in the key of F is a G. Is G major or minor? The 2, remember 2, 3, and 6 are minor. So G minor would be the 2 chord in the key of F. We have F, G, A, right? So A is the third note. The third note is minor. A minor. So far we've got a 1, a 2, a 3, F major, G minor, A minor. The 4 chord in F, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a B flat. So B flat would be major. Again, there are different voicings that you can use. This is more just about kind of grouping them together. The 5 chord in F is a C, so that's a C major. The 6 chord in F is a D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is a D, D minor. And the 7 chord in F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, the shortcut, remember going back one, is E. So we'd have an E diminished chord. So if we played that original progression that we did in the key of C, what was it again? 5, 2, 1, 4. Again, I'll play it in the key of C, that 5, 2, 1, 4, the G to D to C to F. One more time around. In the key of C, 5, 2, 1, 4. A really quick way to transpose that into the key of F is using those numbers. So 5 in the key of F is a C. 2 in the key of F is a G minor. 1 in the key of F is a F. And then 4 in the key of F is B flat. Okay, so 5, 2, 1, 4. It's not so much about the chord voicings, it's about just moving those numbers around. And once you have a grasp of the concept of turning notes into numbers and those numbers into chords, it gets incredibly easy to start changing keys, especially maybe if you're working with a singer who's like, can you play that like up a step? And maybe you don't have a capo, or you're not in a position where you can play chords that use a capo. You can be like, okay, yeah, I can do this up a step. Like if I was in the key of F and I want to just move it up to the key of G, I'll just take a 5, 1, 2, or a 5, 2, 1, 4 in the key of G, 5 in the key of G, G, A, B, C, D. I'll start with a D. Then I got to go to the 2, G, A minor. What's the 1 in the key of G? It's G major. 4 in the key of G, C. So I'm really kind of effortlessly, fluidly moving through, cycling through keys, because I can just take one group of numbers and apply them to any kind of major scale. So the importance of the major scale, I can't talk enough about it. I really think this is just something for you to memorize. The 1, 4, and 5 always become major. The 2, 3, and 6 always become minor. Now, these aren't rules. It's music theory. These are kind of guidelines. This is how it works to kind of get chords in a key together. By no means does that mean you can't use chords that don't apply to these rules. In fact, maybe something that you've seen is the 2 chord being used as a major chord sometimes. So like in the key of C, right? I know that you've seen progressions that are like C to D to F to G. That didn't sound bad, right? C. Like we said before, there are only 3 major chords, the 1, 4, and 5 in a key. Right there, I took the 2 chord, which should be minor, and I made it major. And guess what? It sounded fine. You can still break these rules, but we are technically going outside of a key to make that D minor chord into a D major chord. So, by no means is this something that you feel like you have to adhere to all the time, but if you have any ambitions of playing with other musicians, playing with singers, being able to transpose things, being able to turn the numbers of the major scale into chords, and knowing which chords those are, 1, 4, and 5 are major, 2, 3, and 6 are minor, 7 is diminished, is in my opinion, the most important piece of theory that any musician can know. So if you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks a lot. So if you found this lesson helpful, definitely subscribe to the channel because we got a lot more stuff. In fact, circling around me in these boxes are other lessons that I myself have done. I like to focus a lot on the music theory. We've got a lot of other great instructors that have their own techniques and styles that you should definitely check out. So please feel free to browse around the YouTube channel, go to the website, check everything out. And definitely, we're always looking for your feedback. So anything that you have to offer, please let us know.